Hey, every pony Fable Cord here again. Yeah, I'm doing more recordings. It's not that late. I do have to go ahead and work tomorrow, but you know what? It's a holiday. Why not give a little bit of a gift? So, I know obviously not very many of you watch my videos at all. I'm still kind of new to this, and that's all fine. But anyway, as you can probably tell from the title below, these are my thoughts on the really old movie of My Little Pony Equestria Girls. Alright, by this point, Friendship Games has already come out and everything. I've already seen them. And now that I'm able to look back at this movie compared to the other ones, I can see why it got so much hate. When I first originally watched the movie, I didn't find too much wrong with it, but again, in, comparison to the other ones, it's definitely at the bottom of the roster. So, I'll get to the other two either in this later on video, depending on whether or not I want to break this up, or I may just review all three of them, since it may not take very long. Anyway, the first one is all based around, obviously around the main six, mostly Twilight, and Sunset Shimmer, a former student of Celestia's, takes her element of harmony and takes it into the human world through a magical portal. So, Twilight is told she has to go in there alone as to not disturb the balance of that world, and has to go retrieve her crown to maintain the defenses of Equestria. So, so once she goes through the portal, she has to reunite with the human versions of the main six, so she has to literally make the same introductions over again, like we did in the first season, and earn their friendship and trust, make sure that they become the quote-unquote humane six, and stop Sunset Shimmer from basically just being a bitch, because, bullies suck and all, that horrible cliche that nobody ever wants to really hear again. But, it's a kid's show, or movie, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. But, in any event, so that is basically the whole premise of the entire thing. And it's basically a race against the clock, because there's a certain time frame at which the portal is open. So, while that whole urgency with a timeline type thing is, kind of an interesting, I guess, MacGuffin to put on this whole movie and whatnot. But at the same time, it's rather pointless, and most of the time it only feels as though it's an excuse to drag this movie longer than it really should. And that irritates me, considering that I enjoy it when a movie flawlessly slides into scenes rather than feeling rather forced. So, when I'm stuck having to go back and forth between, worrying about the main six, whether or not Twilight's going to be name-shamed or whatever, part of me just does not care. And that is probably one of the bigger sins of this movie, is that most of the time I just do not care about what happens. I'm barely going to touch about Flash Sentry, because honestly, he is just the most annoying male romance partner I've ever seen in my life. He is the most awkward, kind of a jock nerd type guy, and honestly, he's not that likable at all. He has a personality of cardboard toast. So, I really just don't care for him, and I can understand why everybody doesn't like him, though I'm pretty sure everybody else doesn't like him because he's like their waifu stealer or whatever. Can't even tell you how many times I've heard, hi, my name's Flash, I'm here to steal your waifu. But people can do what they do. I don't much care, but anyway, back to the task at hand. Sunset Shimmer, I don't mind her so much. I mean, obviously she's going to be like so beyond annoying that it's like beyond comprehension. I hate bully characters. That's why I don't give a shit about Diamond Tiara or Silver Spoon. I do not care for them. I just hate bully characters. And as someone who was bullied throughout majority of my schooling career, and even partway through college, because people are just so beyond immature nowadays that I absolutely just hate people in general. But I despise empty bully trope. I hate that so much. There is no need for it. And it drives me crazy when that is their excuse for just being an ass. Now, Sunset, she wanted to gain power and take over take over Equestria with the help of her teenage army, which was given a sort of power over with the element of harmony that she took from Twilight, which when she went through when she went ahead and went after it, you would think that as soon as she went after the element of harmony through the portal, it would be right there and she could grab it instead of having it be out on the lawn, which it was explained that Fluttershy turned it into Principal Celestia, because she found it, but you would think that if she also saw a person coming in after the portal, she would report it, but, God forbid there's any sort of continuity. But, it's just one of those things where there were so many plot holes and so many redundant scenes that honestly, part of me really didn't want to see, but at the same time, I knew that they had an entire world to create and to establish along with the characters. And while I find it cute that they did a send back to the original, I really just did not care, and I was just waiting for it to end. I was more excited when they were zooming through Applejack's intro and Rainbow Dash's intro and Rarity's intro, because they assume by this point, since you've already kind of seen Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy at that point, that you didn't need to be reestablished with these characters. If you're watching this movie, you pretty much should know the show, so they really didn't feel like they had to shoehorn their little intros, I guess. I mean, some of the intros, though, are rather impossible for humans, too, because, originally Rainbow Dash was flying around and, rained on Twilight with one of her clouds, and obviously you can't do that with a human, so I kind of like how they made her more of a sports all-star, which was an interesting touch on her, but not unwanted. It was very well done, and the designs were alright. I mean, some of the anatomy was a little weird, considering that majority of the characters were all leg, and I'm not even going to go ahead and get into how odd it was seeing Celestia and Luna. It looked horrible. But anyway, moving on. And as for the climax, it was legitimately creepy seeing Sunset be turned into that weird raging she-demon, as she says in Rainbow Rocks. But at the same time, it was actually kind of underwhelming because it was legitimately her being manifested by evil, which I don't know, for some weird reason, I don't know what it is, but it bugs me how they went about it, and I don't know, I could not really get into the moment as much as I'm pretty sure the movie wanted me to. I know it's for kids and everything, and I shouldn't take it too seriously, but being an analyst and watching something, and honestly, I haven't been a brony for all that long. In fact, I got into My Little Pony about season 3, and I caught up very, very easily. I mean, I was caught up before the end of season 3. So, going ahead and watching this was very underwhelming. I expected a little bit more, but I'm very glad now that I've seen the other two movies that they did improve quite a bit. The animation was a little weird. Some of the movements were very fluid, but others it was very blocky and robotic, and it just did not flow very well. Like their walking was very awkward. But at the same time, one of the bonuses, or one of the good points, I guess, one of the pros of this movie was that obviously the voice acting was perfectly fine. Rebecca Soyshot is, or however you say her name, I'm gonna go ahead and completely butcher the name. I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like I'm cussing. I'm close enough with doing that with Sunset Shimmer, and I'm lucky I'm able to get that down, without kind of dying a little bit. But the voice acting was fine. I've loved Rebecca as Sunset. She was very well done. She was, at the same time, I really don't like the character, but the way she voiced her was very well done because she made it actually semi-enjoyable to not like her. So she was one of those characters where you actually enjoyed to hate her. And much like Jafar from Aladdin and Scar from Lion King and things like that. So they did a pretty good job. Snips and Snails were very unnecessary, and I found them more of an irritant than anything else. It's kind of weird how every single movie or episode or anything that has a minor antagonist, they become the lackeys, which I'm wondering why. Like, and it's so weird because the main six in the photos for the intros and everything, they're included in the photos. So you would think that they would be on, maybe neutral terms or whatever, but in the movie, apparently they're the new bad guy sidekicks. I don't know. So I never quite fully understood that. But in any event, oh, God, I don't know what else to say about the movie. I mean, honestly, it's kind of forgettable. The music is, I've heard better. There's like maybe one or two songs that kind of stick with you, but it's more or less like annoying than enjoyable, like some of the other music from MLP. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and stop with Equestria Girls, and I'm just gonna kind of roll into Rainbow Rocks and then Friendship Games. Friendship Games I might talk about separately, only because there are so many things I want to talk about with it. So I'll kind of mash Equestria Girls and Rainbow Rocks together, and then I'll move on to Friendship Games in another video. But in any event, alright, Rainbow Rocks. Big improvement in music, in animation, in character development, in villains. Oh my God, there were so many good things about this movie. And I'm so happy that they didn't have to mess up as badly or have as many plot holes. Mind you, this movie is not perfect. And neither is Friendship Games, and clearly Equestria Girls is not perfect. But I do like where they took the story. And the nice thing is that when I first watched the movie, I wasn't 100% sure of where they were going with it, because the ending actually caught me off guard and how it was resolved. Mind you, it took a lot of friggin' work for that to happen, but I'll get to that in a minute. The thing that I really thoroughly enjoyed was the idea that the villains were somebody that was literally forced out of Equestria for just being too powerful and basically virtually dumped into another dimension or another, hell, I'm just gonna go with dimension because that sounds about as accurate as possible. But they actually legitimately were powerful and intimidating. Kazumi Evans was fantastic as Adagio Dazzle. She was intimidating, she was talented, she was a great singer, and she was a force to be reckoned with. She was just oozing with self-confidence, and she knew she was a badass, and she was very well aware of it, and she was willing to do anything to get into that seat of power. And what was interesting was that her quote-unquote teammates with Arya Blaze and Sonata Dusk. By the way, Sonata is my favorite, only because she's a big old ditz, and I imagine that that's pretty much how Derby would be if she was given a main role, which they did in Slice of Life. I'll be getting into that later. But they were so enjoyable, and their chemistry was very well made, very well executed, and the actresses were perfect in bouncing off each other. That is how it should be. If you're going to have a trio, you need to make sure that their chemistry and their bond works. In the beginning, Adagio was just so irritated with them because they were bickering, and that's the funny thing with Sonata and Arya, is that they both bicker a lot with each other because one thinks the other is a ditz and the other one is just irritated with the other for being gloomy all the time. So it's kind of relatable too, because in some parts that deep down one of you is very pessimistic like Arya, but other times you can be a little odd and kooky like Sonata. So they were both very likable characters. And plus, they were just very intimidating in general. They all knew that they were powerful and that all they needed was a little bit of help trying to get there, at which that is why they went after the equestrian magic in the the Humane Six. Sorry. So, but the only thing that they didn't account for was the fact that Sunset Shimmer would be the trump card. They weren't aware of that, and you can't fault them for that. They were right there at the seat of power, and a magical MacGuffin came out of nowhere. So honestly, I kind of almost wish that they had won, because I would have loved to see what would have happened if they had gotten control of that world. Like if Twilight was forced to flee and come back again. Like have there be a movie in between Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games. I would have loved for that to happen. But that's not how it happens. But in either event, going back, the main plot line of this one is that it mostly focuses around Sunset Shimmer getting accustomed to the idea that everyone ostracizes her for what she did in the first movie. And yes, they forgave her at the end of the first one, and I still hate that because she was such a bitch. But anyway, so basically it's all about her getting accustomed to that and trying to get everybody to see the fact that she's not that person anymore. And while that's difficult, it is possible. Because a few start slowly but surely warming up to her. It takes some time, but they do. And you see a few cameos, like obviously like Normal Norman, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Trixie, she does actually a song. Obviously Flash Sentry, which we all still hate him regardless. Mr. Cardboard Wheat Toast. Burnt Toast, actually. Who else do we see? I don't know, Trixie's probably the most the most obvious of all the cameos. But you also see Vinyl. Vinyl actually turns out to be a total, Deus Ex Machina in this one. Yeah, so like all these little things are going on, all the while, you're also kind of expected to really kind of pay attention, considering that there is a lot going on. You have the Humane Six worrying about the showcase because Rainbow Dash is kind of a pain in the butt, and she's very, very should we say self-centered. She thinks it's the head of her band, which in a way it kind of was the start of her band, hence why it's called the Rain Booms. But in any event, the whole point basically is to beat the Dazzlings because they are actually sirens from Equestria that were banished by Star Swirl. So that's basically the entire thing, honestly, other than Sunset trying to get readjusted. But there's also a lot of shipping fuel between Twilight and Sunset, and mind you, I'm not into that kind of thing. I mean, if you guys are, that's fine, but it is laid on really thick. But if that's what you want to do, then you do it. It's just not what I'm into. I'm just glad that there's like no shipping fuel between like Flash and some other stallion or something. That would have been really, really flippin' awkward. Kind of like what they're doing with the Eco Kid and the nerd that were totally a pair from from this movie and the first one. Because again, they turn out to be a team in the third movie, which is kind of funny. But I'll get into that whenever I'm talking about friendship games. So honestly, big upgrades as far as music. Oh my god, a lot of these songs are fantastic, and while I should be rooting for the Rain Booms, I'm actually 100% on the side of the Dazzlings. Under Our Spell, fantastic. Welcome to the Show, fantastic. And Let's Have a Battle of the Bands, fantastic. Oh my god, so many of those songs are so catchy. They have a great beat. They are very uplifting. And even though there's meant to be kind of like a mind control type thing, you can't help but fall for it. It's so good. And while the Rain Booms have a few good songs here and there, like their half of Welcome to the Show, and Awesome as I Wanna Be, another one of those awesome songs that just really makes you love how self-centered and how egotistical Rainbow Dash can be. Her and her rockin' guitar solo. Just some parts I could live without. Like, I have no problem with, oh god, what was the name of that song? Shoot. Crap, I can't even think about the name of the song. Oh, Shake Your Tail. Like, Shake Your Tail, it's catchy and it's alright, but honestly, I kind of like the chorus, and that's about it. And the same thing with the intro song of whenever they're playing in the music room. I can't think right now. My brain is not exactly focusing. So when they're playing those songs, it's not a bad song. It's just, to me, it doesn't really do it for me. But then you listen to the Dazzlings all of a sudden sing and come in, and it's fantastic. They steal the show all the time, and that's why I'm kind of sad that they got beat, mostly because they just weren't aware of Sunset. And I sometimes hate that idea, is when the villains are only bested because of a magical MacGuffin that just kind of shows up out of nowhere. To me, that's kind of cheating, but that's just me. So, in any event, this was an amazing way to definitely make a bigger impact on the community, especially with music. The animation was a lot more fluid. They're walking a lot better. Not quite as awkward. I think that's because they finally got a grip on, what it was like to animate humans instead of ponies. So, voice acting was fantastic. The cast was great. The plotline was less garbled because they didn't have so much to cram into the span of about an hour and a half, which was a good thing. They didn't have so much they had to do before the end of the movie. So they didn't have to force anything or make the pacing weird. It was actually really well paced, and it didn't seem rushed, which that was a lot of what the first movie was. It seemed like there was way too much to do in such a tiny amount of time. And you gotta feel bad because that's not really their fault because they had so much to establish, but at the same time, that doesn't give an excuse nor to be bad. So, because they could have, I've seen movies and shows do a lot better with their pilot episodes or first movies, and do a lot better with establishing things, and yet still having enough time to give an actual story to the individual movie. But anyway, that is just my thoughts on Rainbow Rocks. In any event, I'm going to go ahead and talk about friendship games probably in the next one, because this is already running about 21 minutes. And I'd rather not have you guys just kind of sitting here. So let me know what you guys think about the movies down below. And go ahead and start a discussion if you want. I have no idea. I want to know what you guys think. I mean, everybody has their own different opinions. To me, the second one was better than the first, only because there wasn't so much they had to do. So, and they really, really did step it up. So, in any event, let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. And I will see you guys next time. Alright, take care everybody. Bye.